Okay, for today we're going to look at which is revenue recognition, which is we're going to look at FRS 118. FRS 118, revenue recognition. This topic is for what we call a theory part of your syllabus. Theory part, where in your exam question, one question will be based on theory, which is question number 3. Okay, usually in your final exam you will have a question solely on theory question, which is question number 3, and it discusses FRS. Okay? Normally FRS, revenue recognition on inventories and also on event after balance sheet date. So for today we're going to look at the first one, which is revenue recognition, which is FRS 118. Look at here, FRS 118. I have made ready for you a sort of a mind map for you to easily remember what is being discussed in the topic. So I will email you. I emailed yesterday, but somehow it doesn't go through. So what I emailed for you is actually this mind map, and also the notes, which is the textbook from Jane Lazar. Okay, these are the detailed discussion on the revenue recognition. So this is your reference book. Okay, and I have made in the form of mind mapping notes for you to easily capture what is being needed to discuss in that chapter. This chapter, actually, the most part of it is actually discussed on revenue recognition in terms of the theory part, and then on application part there is calculation, but minimum calculation lah. Okay, only minimum, where you have to calculate how much revenue that you need to recognize, when to recognize. But it is not in detail calculation. So minimum calculation. So let's take a look at the first FRS here, which is FRS 118, revenue recognition. Okay, first the definition. By the word revenue recognition, FRS 118 discuss revenue which is in ordinary course of business. Ordinary course of business, meaning that this is the revenue that you get from your ordinary business transactions. If you are in a business transaction of, let's say, selling cars, okay, you buy and sell cars, and then when you buy and sell cars, that you have revenue. Okay, that revenue can be recorded as it is covered in this FRS, which is FRS 118, which govern how you should recognize, measure the revenue, how, when, and how to recognize the revenue, when to recognize the revenue. It is governed under FRS 118. Okay, revenue here meaning revenue in the ordinary course of business. Okay, if you are in a course, again, if you are in a business of selling cars, so your revenue comes from buying and selling cars lah. But should one day you decide to sell your premises, your building, let's say, to other people, that is not your primary sale. Your sale is actually sale of cars. But at one time you want to sell, let's say you have land, okay, land that you bought some years ago, you sell it to other parties. That sale does not amount to ordinary course of business. That is not your revenue, which is covered under this FRS 118. FRS 118 only covers ordinary revenue from ordinary course of business. Okay. So ordinary course of business, example here, sales, interest, etc. Okay, depends on what business type you are in. Okay, so definitions. With regard to definition, we have fair value, because in this topic we will discuss the revenue recognition. They come up terms such as fair value, effective yield come up in the discussion. So fair value here means that the amount or money that you receive, amount of money received for assets that could be exchanged, or it could be a liability to be settled between knowledgeable, willing parties. Knowledgeable, willing parties. Okay. In an arm's length transaction. So for assets that could be exchanged, meaning that amount for assets, maknanya in this example, assets you is, for example, goods or product that you sell. Okay, assets. Amount, fair value here, meaning that when you sell your product, the fair value would be the amount that you're going to receive from the sale. Okay, amount of for asset could be exchanged between knowledgeable people between two parties, the buyer and the seller. The seller must be a knowledgeable seller, the buyer must be a knowledgeable buyer, and must be willing. That means they are acting on a free will to buy and sell, to transact. Okay. And in arm's length transaction there, meaning it is fair transaction, which is yang adil lah, transaction yang adil, transaksi sama. Nobody is indominant in terms of knowledge, ability, capability, and bargaining power. Nobody in a dominant, tak ada yang dominant dari segi adil, saksama, dan juga kuasa untuk bertawar menawar. Okay. Sometimes you will also come across effective yield. Okay. Effective yield ni maksud dia interest rate used to discount the future cash flow. Because in the discussion of revenue recognition, normally you will get terms like fair value. Fair value sometimes it could be a discounted value. Okay, discounted consideration received. So discounted, normally we discount using discount rate, effective yield. Come up. The term come up when we discuss future value or future value lah, normally discounted value or discounted value. So what does effective yield mean? Effective yield means interest rate used to discount the future value of cash flow. This is in order for you to find out what is the future, what is the fair value normally. Okay, so that is with regard to definition. Now, basic rule for revenue recognition, whatever revenue you have, whether it is interest, sale of goods, royalties, the basic rule is, first of all, with regard to recognition, the basic rule is, the first one is that the future economic benefit will flow, meaning that it will flow to your business. Okay, future economic benefit will flow to the business, and the amount can be measured reliably. That means the amount of revenue that you're going to receive can be measured reliably. This is the general rule for revenue recognition, under FRS 118, the basic rule. Okay, but then there is a specific detailed rule for each category of revenue. For example, we're going to look at sale of goods, interest, royalties, dividends later on, and services rendered. They have specific rules to them, applied to them, in order for you to recognize revenue in those category of revenue business. Now, in terms of basic rule, another basic rule is that in terms of revenue, you have to apply matching concept. Okay, normally revenue earned for that period must be matched with the cost incurred for that period. Okay, revenue and expenses. Okay, it mentioned here, revenue and expenses for the same transaction. Okay, revenue and transaction of the same transaction should be recognized at the same time. Okay, at the same time. Well, I think you have learned revenue matching concept in your previous accounting concept, matching concept. This is very important, especially when you deal with accruals and prepayment. Okay, next we have measurement. Okay, in terms of measurement, for revenue recognition, normally it is measured using fair value. This is a fair value, remember? Fair value. Fair value. It uses fair value. So what does fair value means? We're going to discuss on fair value later on. Okay? Fair value, already discussed here what the definition is. Okay? Fair value is amount for asset that could be exchanged or liability settled. So in this example, normally amount for assets lah. Okay? Assets yang kita jual tu, product yang kita jual atau service yang kita render tu can be exchanged between knowledgeable willing parties in arm's length transaction. So that is the basic meaning of fair value. Okay, fair value. So this is how you measure revenue. Revenue should be measured using fair value of consideration received. Consideration means here cash or cash equivalent. Okay, normally cash or cash equivalent. Namanya equivalent. Cash or cash equivalent. And deduct any trade discount and rebates. Normally this is what you recognize as revenue. Dalam receipt, contohnya, dalam receipt you, bila you bill orang, kan biasanya you ada, katalah you beli barang, buying and selling goods kan. You buy goods from supplier, you akan dapat receipt tu dalam bill tu kan. Bill receipt tu, ditulis itu cost of the goods and then ada discount kan, ada rebates ke apa kan. You ambil yang net kan, yang discount tu. So it should be deducted with any trade discount and rebates. Normally dalam your recognition of revenue. Okay. Next we have in terms of identification of transaction. Okay, we're going to look at in terms of identification of transaction. Normally will be based on substance over form concept, meaning that we look at the substance of a transaction. Okay, for example, refer to class note, meaning that refer to your note lah. This is discussed in this chapter on page 422. 422 in your here, for example, I show you revenue recognition. Okay, you have in terms of recognition, here we mention that the recognition criteria is applied to each transaction separately or even each component of transaction to reflect substance of the transaction. So what does it mean by the word substance of transaction? Maksudnya kat situ you kena tengok apa sebenarnya yang berlaku di sebalik transaksi tu. You kena tengok yang tu. For example, it says here, for example, sales price may include service charges for post-sales period. Maknanya kadang-kadang you jual barang tu bila you jual barang tu attach dengan barang yang you jual kepada customer tu ialah kesanggupan you bagi dia panggil sini post sales period. Maknanya service charge for post sales period. Maknanya bila orang tu beli dengan you akan bagi servis, kan? Bagi servis, and then you akan charge servis tu kat dia orang, kan? Ini hanya akan berlaku bila servis tu akan terjadi, kan? So bila you jual barang tu, you hanya boleh recognize revenue jual barang tu saja. Servis yang akan di-render nanti tak boleh recognize lagi. You hanya recognize bila you dah bagi servis tu. Okay? And then another, in such case, is mentioned here, if you have this type of transaction, in such case, the identifiable amount of servicing charge is deferred. Maknanya ditangguhkan. Ditangguhkan and recognized over the period when the service is rendered. Maknanya service charges for post sales period tadi kita hanya akan recognize bila service tu telah kita lakukan. Services is rendered. And then another example is when there is a sale and repurchase agreement. Sometimes you have businesses, dia jual, lepas tu dia nak beli balik. Dalam bentuk agreement, jual beli balik. Sebenarnya jual beli balik ni ialah bukanlah jualan. Sebab kalau kita tengok substance of the transaction, dia jual beli balik sebenarnya dia nak dapatkan loan. Dia jual and then you beli balik, kan? Sebab customer dia tu nak dapatkan loan. It mentioned here, sale and repurchase agreement. The two transactions are viewed as one to reflect the substance of the transaction. Maknanya, what is the substance of sales and repurchase agreement ni? In such a case, there might not be a sale. Bukannya sale, dia mention, but a financing arrangement. Maknanya, satu company bagi loan kepada company yang lain. Okay? Sale and purchase agreement maknanya. Nama dia sales and purchase agreement, tapi ianya bukan sale, tapi adalah financing agreement. Right? For example, an entity may sell its inventory of immature timber to a financial institution with a condition to buy back the timber at a later date. Maknanya ada company yang buat tebang kayu balak contohnya. Dia ada kayu balak, tapi kayu balak dia ni masih kecil lagi. Tak besar lagi, tak boleh matang lagi untuk ditebang, kan? Dia nak perlukan duit. Jadi dia pergi ke bank, dia nak jual kayu balak dia yang tak matang lagi ni dengan syarat dia akan beli balik nanti. Tapi bank kena bayar dulu. Bila dah mature nanti dia akan beli balik. Maknanya sebenarnya dia nak dapatkan loan. Betul tak? Bukannya sales and repurchase agreement. So maknanya kat sini, bila you nak recognize revenue tu, you kena recognize revenue based on the substance of the transaction. Apa yang sebenarnya berlaku. Okay, that is what it means by substance of transaction. So it is a financing arrangement. Okay. So FRS 118 mentioned there, FRS 118 has identified three types of revenue, give guidance on when revenue can be recognized for these three groups of revenue. The three groups of revenue are sales of goods, rendering of service, interest, royalties and dividends. Kita akan tengok nantilah later on. Okay, that will be in our discussion later on. Okay, so the scope of FRS 118 here is, what does FRS 118 covers? Revenue. In terms of revenue recognition ni, dia cover revenue recognition for sale of goods. They cover revenue recognition for rendering of services. And they cover revenue recognition for interest. What does interest mean? Interest is, it mentioned here, charge for the use of cash or cash equivalent or amount due to entity. Maknanya, if you are in a business of lending money, like bank and financial institution, kan? Your revenue is in the form of interest, right? So how do you recognize interest revenue? So it is covered under this topic, FRS 118. FRS 118 also covers revenue recognition with regard to royalties. Royalties, do you understand what is royalties? Royalties biasanya you dengar dalam bentuk lagu, kan? Lagu royalties. Royalties here is the charges for the use of non-current asset of entity, example patents and trademarks, for example. You charge other people for using your patents, for example. You invent something, okay? You invent a software, for example, software for MP3. People use that software, and you get certain amount of income out of it. Okay, so that income is governed under FRS 118. Okay, FRS 118 ada mention, ada cakap macam mana kita nak recognize income for royalties. And lastly, we have income for dividends. FRS 118 also covers income recognition for dividend. Dividend is distribution of profit, okay? Distribution of profit to holders of equity investment. For example, if you are ordinary shareholders, you will get dividend, right? For preference shareholders, you will get dividend. Okay? If your company invests in other companies, buy other companies, become shareholders of another company, your company will receive dividend every year, right? So that dividend you can recognize as revenue, especially if you are in a business of investment companies. Okay, investment companies, their revenue is in the form of dividends that they receive. Okay, for example, public mutual, and so on. These are investment companies, and their revenue is in the form of dividends. So these are the scope that which is covered under revenue recognition. Okay, under revenue recognition, FRS 118. Okay, now let's take a look at the more important ones for you, especially in your final exam. In your final exam, normally the question will give you a situation of a company, and you will be asked to answer how should you recognize the revenue, how much is the revenue. Okay, so FRS 118 covers these revenues. One is sale of goods. Number 2, rendering of services. Number 3, interest. Number 4, royalties. Number 5, dividend. Okay, dividend. Okay, normally in your final exam, these are the revenue that they will ask you how to recognize and calculate how much revenue that you should recognize. How and when the revenue, how, when, and how much revenue that you should calculate. Okay? As I mentioned earlier, for revenue recognition, generally the basic rule is recognition, you must have this basic rule. Okay? Which is future economic benefit will flow. Maknanya you akan dapat benefit daripada sale of your goods and services. Okay, and amount of the revenue can be measured reliably. Okay, this is the basic rule, the general rule. Okay, but the more specific rule for each of the category of revenue, for example, sale of goods will be discussed here. It will be discussed here. Okay? For example, sale of goods. When should you recognize sales of goods revenue? Revenue for sales of goods. When should you recognize? You should recognize revenue for sales of goods when it fulfills this requirement. CMAR requirement. First, it's mentioned here is that cost incurred can be measured reliably. Cost incurred can be measured reliably. Understand? So you should recognize, or you can recognize revenue for sale of goods when the cost incurred can be measured reliably. Okay, can be measured reliably. Maknanya you boleh ukur how much is your revenue. Okay, 1,000, 3,000, you can measure reliably. Maknanya ada cost dia, kan? Jadi profit tu plus profit you get revenue, kan? Cost plus profit you get. So you can measure your revenue reliably. The second condition is that the economic benefit will probably flow to the entity. Maknanya if you sell the goods, you will most probably get the money that you are promised to get when you sell your goods. Okay? Probably you sell today, you will get the money in 3 months' time, or you get the money on the spot. Okay? So economic benefit too, in terms of money you will receive, you will probably receive the money. Okay? So the probability of receiving the money is quite huge. It's quite big. Maknanya economic benefit will probably flow to the entity. So you will get economic benefit in terms of money. Managerial involvement. This is the third. Managerial involvement and effective control over the goods. Maknanya when you sell the goods, you will no longer have managerial involvement or effective control of the goods. The good has been passed to the customer. When this has happened, you have no effective managerial control and no effective control over the goods, then you can recognize the revenue, sale of goods. Okay? And then amount of revenue can be measured reliably. Tadi cost can be measured reliably, kan? Now amount of revenue, the revenue can be measured reliably. Cost tadi kita boleh measure reliably sebab kita beli daripada supplier, kan? Supplier bagi receipt untuk pembayaran. Cost dia banyak tu. You can measure it reliably. Now the amount of revenue can be measured reliably. Maknanya revenue tadi mungkin you calculate revenue cost plus profit, kan? 10% profit. So it can be measured reliably. And significant risks and rewards. Risks and rewards. Okay? Risks and rewards has been transferred to the buyer. Risks and rewards has been transferred to the buyer. Okay, risks and rewards has been transferred to the buyer. These are revenue measured reliably, managerial involvement, effective control over the goods has ceased. Maknanya no effective managerial involvement and no effective control. Economic benefit will flow to entity. Cost can be measured reliably. Okay? That is with regard to sale of goods. This is how you recognize revenue from sale of goods. Okay? From sale of goods. Second, how do you recognize revenue for rendering of service? Maknanya you provide service. Your company provide service. Okay? How do you recognize your revenue for services? Okay? Now, there are few conditions. First, stage of completion applies. Okay? recognition when you fulfill this requirement, case, which is the short term favorite lah. Case ni meaning that cost incurred can be measured reliably, amount of revenue can be measured reliably, okay, and then stage of completion of transaction can be measured reliably, economic benefit flow to the entity. So that is all the requirement, 4 requirement. Case, cost incurred can be measured reliably, amount of revenue can be measured reliably, stage of completion can be measured reliably, and economic benefit will flow to the entity. Reliable estimate of revenue, what does it mean? Reliable estimate for the revenue of rendering service means that each party have their enforceable rights there is an agreement and amount of consideration to be exchanged. Maknanya you ada dah amount dia berapa yang you nak tukar. Service tadi akan dibayar dengan certain amount of money. Consideration to be exchanged, and manner and terms of settlement. Macam mana you nak settle that amount, okay, between buyer and seller. Okay, so that means reliable estimate on revenue. This is if you take a look at your, saya akan email ni lah sebab saya dah email semalam tapi tak sampai. Revenue recognition for rendering of service. Kalau you tengok kat sini, rendering of service. Okay, revenue on services given is recognized by reference of stage of completion. So you have to take into consideration of stage of completion. Stage of completion ni penting. Stage of completion at the reporting date, when outcome of the transaction can be estimated reliably. Okay, the outcome can be estimated reliably when the following condition has been satisfied. Okay, the first one is the amount of revenue can be measured reliably, probable that economic benefit will flow to the entity, stage of completion can be measured reliably, cost incurred and cost to complete the transaction can be measured reliably. Okay, or here yang kita tengok tadi ialah with regard to case tadi. Kita panggil dia case kan. Case. Cost incurred can be measured reliably, amount of revenue be measured reliably, stage of completion can be measured reliably, and economic benefit can be measured reliably. Okay. It says there, when the outcome cannot be estimated reliably, revenue should be recognized only to the extent of the expenses recognized that are recoverable. Okay, services rendered can be short-term or long-term. Long-term contract include project evaluation. Long-term contract ni contohnya apa? Construction contract lah. Yang tu biasanya panjang, more than one accounting period, 1, 2, 3, 4 years or 5 years baru siap building kan, construction. Where completion of services takes a considerable period of time, revenue is earned over more than one accounting or reporting period. Okay, so this is construction. Construction ni kita akan deal later in your construction contract punya account. Okay, so this is rendering of service. So what's important is that this one lah, okay, in your notes, mind mappings here. Saya dah prepare for you for mind mapping purposes. You have to remember this lah for your exam. You have to remember this part. It's very important for your exam. Next we have interest. Okay, interest. revenue recognition for interest. How do you recognize interest revenue? Under FRS 118, interest revenue should be recognized on time proportion basis. Maknanya you kena tengok time proportion. Okay? Time proportion. Interest ni sebab dia bergantung kepada masa kan. You buat loan, you kena bayar dalam masa 10 years kan. So every year there is an interest. After 1 year has passed, you bayar interest. Kalau during the year, you ambil for that financial year hanya 6 months kan. 6 months over 12 months based on time. Okay, period. So it should be based on time period, based on effective yield. Effective yield, discounted rate, effective yield on the asset. So that is basically for interest. Okay, and then royalties. How do you recognize revenue for royalties? Recognition for royalty must be based on accrual basis. Earn. Accrual basis based on substance of the agreement. Okay, we're going to look at the substance of the agreement. So, in terms of interest, tadi kita balik kepada interest ni. Kalau kita tengok notes yang saya bagi, kalau discussion, more detailed discussion in terms of notes, interest, it mentioned here royalties. Okay. Again, the general rules is that probable that the economic benefit will flow to the entity and revenue can be measured reliably. Okay, that is the general rule for service rendered, for sales of goods. This also applies to royalties and dividends. Okay. Interest should be recognized on time basis. On time basis. Time basis. For example, here is an example of how you calculate interest. How do you calculate interest income? Here we have on April X5, Mr. Boyce deposited 10,000. So the date here is April X5, 10,000. In a Maybank fixed deposit account. The interest was 10% per annum. This is the effective yield rate, 10% per annum, payable at the end of each year. Required, how much revenue? Recognized as interest income. So you have some calculation that you have to do. The basic rule for interest income is that you have to recognize interest income based on time, kan? Based on time basis. Based on time. So the answer is, as at 31st December, loan ni bila? Deposit ni bila? On 1st April. So maknanya April to 31st December ada berapa bulan? There is 9 months kan? 9 months. So that means 9 over 12. So you have 10,000 invested at 10% yield and 9 over 12 on time basis. On time basis. So the total amount is 750. So this is the amount of revenue recognized. Okay, amount of revenue recognized is 750. Okay, so this is the amount of revenue recognized. So on time basis. And example number 3 here, we have January X5, Trey purchases 400,000, 2% government bonds, government bonds will be repaid at a premium of 25% on redemption. Ini at the end of the period of the loan okay, of the bond agreement. And the current market interest rate is 8%. This is the interest rate for calculation of interest. Okay. Redemption ni maknanya at the end of the bond agreement dia akan redeem balik kan. Itu that is the redemption rate lah. So what we are interested is the interest rate, because that is the revenue kan. Revenue that you need to recognize. How much Trey revenue should Mr. Trey recognize? So you have to look at on time basis. The investment is on 1st January, right? 400,000 X5 ni 400,000, 8%. Okay, 8%, 1st January. So maknanya 1st January to December maknanya 1 year lah, right? 1 year. So year 5 here, 400,000 times 8%, you get 32,000 for 1 year. Sorry, bukan for 1 year. This is interest rate is for the whole bond. Sorry, for the whole bond. For the whole bond. The whole year of the bond lah. Maknanya if you buy the bond, it is redeemable in 5 years time. Maknanya 5 years lah. Okay. Each year tu dia dipanggil sini berapa ni? January, government bond will be repaid at a premium. Here he mentioned here kat bawah ni dia kata Mr. Trey will receive only 8,000 each year. Sebab soalan ni dia tak terang, dia tak mention berapa tahun dia nak bond ni dia cakap berapa tahun. So they assume this example ni assuming 4 years lah. Assuming 4 years of redemption date lah. From the redemption date, 4 years. 4 year redemption date. So kalau 4 years, maknanya dalam masa 4 tahun dia akan redeem balik kan. Maknanya dalam masa 4 tahun tu dia akan dapat 32,000. Jadi each year you will get 8,000 lah. Okay, 32,000 divide by 4 years. So you get 8,000. Sorry, this is based on each year. Sorry, based on each year. Sorry. One mistake here. I didn't see the calculation at the bottom. The bond is 400,000 for the interest rate is 8%, current market interest rate. So interest 400,000 in times dengan 8, you get 32,000. Itulah the assuming ni assuming 3 years lah maknanya. Assuming 3 years or 4 years of, betul lah. Assuming 4 years of, sebab dia tak mention kat sini berapa tahun redemption tu. Dia tak mention kat sini. Assuming 4 years of, macam saya calculate tadi dah betul sebenarnya. Assuming 4 years redemption, maknanya each year you dapat 8,000. The difference between interest revenue recognized and amount received is added to the carrying value of the government bond. So in X6 nanti dia akan tambah lagi lah. Each year 424. Interest revenue in X6 will be 424 times 8%. Cash received will be 8,000. To 400 times premium is 24. Sekejap I nak calculate something. 2,400. The current market is 8% interest rate. PX year. Interest revenue recognized and the amount is added to it. Okay. 400 plus 8. Okay, this is a little bit complicated for you, so let's just not go into this because this part would probably will not be covered for you. Just not, yeah. So this example is not suitable for you. Okay, example for you will be in example 2 here. This is more relevant for you because the calculation is simple. The question in your final exam will not come up something like for example number 3 ni. Okay, example number 3 ni is too complicated for you to calculate. So normally it will not come up in your final exam like this. The most likely final exam question will be example 2 here. Okay, so let's just leave it there lah for example 3. Okay, that is for interest. Okay, the main point here is that interest revenue is recognized based on time basis. On time basis. Okay, that is the main important thing here. Now for royalties accrual basis. As mentioned earlier, royalty should be on accrual basis in accordance with the substance of the agreement, substance of the relevant agreement. So example here. We have example on royalties is that Sri Kalsom here, a singer, has cut a new compact disc with a recording company, royalty payable to Sri Kalsum is $10 for every compact disc sold. A total of 500,000 units has been produced, but only 200,000 units have been sold. Therefore, the royalty income that can be recognized as revenue by Sri Kalsum is based on accrual basis. Accrual meaning that how much you earn. Okay, dia dah produce 500,000, but has been sold is only 200,000 kan? 200,000 units. So, amount accrued would be $10 worth of your royalties and times 200,000, which is 2 million. Okay, 2 million. That is with regard to royalties, an example. And with regard to dividends, okay, dividends, if you take a look at our notes here, dividend, in terms of dividend, we should recognize when established rights to receive the dividend. Okay, dividend revenue can be recognized when we establish the right to receive the dividend. Maknanya when it is declared lah, normally declared by the board of directors. Okay, declared by the board of directors. So that is for dividend. Rights to receive. Rights to receive. Rights to receive payment is established. Okay. Example here we have Puan Mahani holds 100,000 ordinary shares. Okay, 100,000 ordinary shares in CEE Berhad. At the annual general meeting held on 5th May at 6, directors of CEE proposed a dividend of 10% for the year X5. So maknanya 10% dividend. When can Mahani recognize her dividend income? The right to receive is when the dividend is declared. Okay? When the dividend is declared is the right to receive. When is that? May 6. 5th May 2006. Okay. Therefore, she can recognize how much? How much can she recognize? 10%? You tak mention kat sini par value dia berapa kan? Kalau par value dia $1, maknanya 10% of 100,000 times $1 each kan? Okay. Kalau dia punya ni lah, let's say 100,000 times $1 each times 10%. That is your income, which is 10,000. So 10,000 will be recognized as dividend income, assuming the par value is $1 each. Okay. Tapi kat sini dia tak mention what is the par value. Okay. Other issues. This is important to discuss other issues. Other issues appendix IFRS. Other issues, an entity should also include contingent liabilities. Contingent liabilities, yang ni warranty cost ni tak berapa penting sangat lah. Okay. Yang penting yang appendix to IFRS ni, dia ada mention sale of goods. Sale of goods. Appendix ni contoh dia bill and wholesales. Sale of goods. Example provided by appendix to FRS 118 for revenue provides a number of example. They provide numbers of example. FRS 118 sale of goods, bill, whole and sales, in which delivery is delayed at the buyer's request, but the buyer takes title and accept billing. Maknanya dia bill tapi dia hold dia punya delivery. Okay, delivery hold delivery ni dia delay. It is called bill and hold. So What happens in bill and hold? You kata sini, revenue is recognized when buyer takes title, provided probable delivery will be made and the item is on hand, identified, ready for delivery. Okay, at the time the sale is recognized. The buyer specifically acknowledge. Buyer acknowledge deferred delivery. Okay, deferred delivery instruction. Usual payment terms apply. Okay, usual payment terms apply. So this is for bill and hold sales. Bill and hold sales. Maknanya you can recognize when the buyer takes title, provided that they have fulfilled this requirement for bill and hold. Revenue is not recognized when there is simply an intention to acquire or manufacture. Intention to acquire or manufacture. Just in intention tak amount to sale. Maknanya bukan sale. The goods in the time of our delivery. Goods shipped subject to condition. This is another situation of sales of goods. In example given by FRS, goods shipped subject to conditions. Revenue is normally recognized when the buyer accepts the delivery and installation and inspection are complete. This is for goods shipped subject to condition. Maknanya goods tadi kita akan recognize revenue bila when kita recognize revenue for goods shipped subject to condition, maknanya goods yang kita hantar tu mestilah fulfill certain condition. Normally buyer will accept delivery and installation and inspection are complete. Kita akan recognize revenue. Another sale of good that yang selalu berlaku ialah sale or return. Maknanya syarikat tu dia jual dengan syarat sale or return ni ialah bila dia katakan kat customer dia jual ni kalau tak puas hati boleh hantar balik, kan? Ada syarat dia, kan? Ada certain company dia nak attract customer. Dia kata semua barangan dia kalau you tak puas hati you boleh pulangkan dalam masa 10 hari. Kita akan ganti atau pulang balik wang, kan? Contohnya. So in this situation you have sale or return. Dia panggil sale or return. So when should you recognize the sale in this situation? Bila you jual, you kata kat customer, okay, kalau tak puas hati hantar dalam masa 2 minggu contohnya, kan? So bila you should recognize the sale? After 2 weeks lah, kan? Bila dia dah times dah elapse, orang tak pulang balik, maknanya certain you boleh recognize the sale bila the time has for return back has elapsed. Maknanya revenue is generally recognized when the approval period or time period for rejection has elapsed. If possibility of return by customer is uncertain, revenue can be recognized on delivery. And also for this situation, you dah lama dah buat offer ni kepada customer. You dah operate about 10 years dah, kan? And normally customer tak pulang balik pun you punya barang tu. So from past experience, nobody has returned back your goods. That means when you sell, you can immediately recognize. If through past experience nobody return back, and let's say that you have been operating for 5 years and nobody return back your goods, when you sell, that means you can sell it. You can recognize the revenue on the spot. Okay, remember that. That is called sale or return. Sale or return. Okay. Consignment sales on consignments ni contohnya apa contoh sale of consignment ni is a vendor normally dia hantar consignment barang, contohnya Gardenia hantar roti, kan, ke kedai, kan. Dia hantar roti ke kedai Dia letak roti dia kat kedai tu, and then petang nanti dia ambil kan, atau 2-3 hari lepas tu dia ambil kan. So revenue dia recognize bila? Bila barang tu dah dijual lah. Okay. Generally the vendor will recognize revenue when the consignee sells the goods. Consignee ni kedai lah, tuang kedai tu jual barang dia kan. Sells the goods to the third party. However, the substance of the terms has to be applied. For example, if the risks are with the consignee, then the consignor recognize revenue on delivery. Contohnya dia hantar barang, dia dah buat perjanjian dengan tuang kedai tu. Gardenia hantar barang hari ni, tuang kedai tu dia dah bersetuju beli semua contohnya. Kalau tak laku dia kira rugi contohnya kan. Kalau agreement dia macam tu, Gardenia boleh recognize profit when the goods is delivered to the kedai tu. Tapi kalau agreement dia kata, tuan kedai tu kata, oh saya akan bagi balik yang tak laku tu, saya tak belilah. Yang laku tu saya bagi duit lah kan contohnya. So maknanya Gardenia akan recognize revenue kalau situation macam tu bila barang tu dah dijual kepada customer kan. Itu. You kena tengok kepada substance of the transaction and agreement. Substance of the agreement. Another situation is layaway sales. Layaway sales ni ialah layaway sales under which the goods are delivered only when the buyer makes the final payment in a series of installments. Maknanya goods ni dia nak beli tapi dia kena bayar installment dulu. Sampai habis installment barulah dia boleh ambil barang tu. Maknanya nak beli tak ada duit kan, tapi dia boleh bayar installment sikit. Tapi dia tak boleh ambil lagi barang tu. Dia hanya boleh ambil barang bila dia dah fully bayar semua. Okay, that is called layaway sales. Generally, revenue is recognized when the goods are delivered. However, when experience indicate that the customer will fulfill the terms, ini through past experience lah. If the customer will fulfill the terms, revenue may be recognized when significant deposit has been received, provided the goods are on hand. Maknanya kalau through experience, this customer is a very good customer, you can trust him, you can recognize the revenue when deposit is given, significant deposit is provided. Okay. So these are actually the summary of FRS 118 with regard to sale of goods, rendering of service, interest, royalties and dividends. Kalau you baca ni lah, yang ni akan saya emailkan you. Okay, semua ni akan email lah nanti. Okay, I will email you. So that's all for revenue recognition under FRS 118. Okay, any question? So in your final exam, for example, we have here November 2013. November 2013. Question number 3. Normally your question for FRS 188 ni will be in question number 3 lah. Okay. For example, here question number 3, you have for each of the following independent situation, explain whenever there is revenue to be recognized and the amount to be recognized, if any. Assume the final year ended for all situation is 30th April 2013. So the first one here, we have a situation where Mega Mendung Sendirian Berhad ni sold 50,000 custom-made furniture to Linda. Furniture 50,000 on 25th of April 2013. It took 3 days for Mega Mendung Sendirian Berhad to deliver the furniture. However, Linda has requested for the furniture to be sent on 6th of May. Kan? 6th of May. So what kind of situation is this? Bill and hold. Kan? Bill and hold. As I mentioned earlier. Okay? So here, what you should do? Okay, the answer is revenue is recognized immediately because the delay in delivery is requested by customer. Okay, delay requested by customer. Recognized immediately, revenue. Revenue is recognized immediately. The amount to be recognized is 50,000. So that is the answer that we are looking at. You have to answer when should we recognize, how much should be recognized, okay? Why you should recognize that, okay? The reason. On 15th of April, Izaril Berhad sold 60 units of calculators costing 50 each. The buyer was given 2 months to return the calculator. What is this? Sales and return, kan? Sales and return. Syarat dia apa? Kita biasanya recognize ni bila masa untuk penghantaran balik tu dah habis kan? Tapi kalau through experience, kalau masa tu biasanya tak ada siapa menghantar balik, kita boleh recognize immediately. Okay? So it says here, the buyer was given 2 months to return the calculator if defect. From past experience, none of the calculators was returned. So here, how should you recognize the income or the revenue? Through past experience, no return, kan? So you can recognize immediately, right? Can recognize immediately. And how much? 60 units times 50 cent, kan? So you can recognize immediately. The amount is 3,000 lah. Because past experience, none of the calculators was returned. Ya, ambil balik. Okay. Now, second C, third one. Sanjana Berhad made a deposit to Sempit Bank. So this is a deposit. Deposit maknanya income dia dalam bentuk interest, kan? Interest should be based on time basis. Okay. Sanjana Berhad deposit 250,000 into Sempit Bank on 30th June 2012 with an interest rate of 5% per annum. So on time basis maknanya how much? 250 times you kena assume the date is 30th April 2013, kan? Dia invest 30th June 2012. 30th June maknanya 1st July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 10 kan? 10 bulan. 10 bulan. Daripada 30th June maknanya Julai, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 10.
Tapi Jun ni tak kira dia 30 Jun lagi.
Apa dia? 30 Jun.
Ingat
30 Jun. Jadi 10 lah kan? 5%. The revenue should be recognized based on time basis. The amount recognized is 5% times 250 times 10 over 12. So you get 10417. So that is the answer. Okay. Part B, identify the type of the following events. Adjusting tak masuk lagi, Kita tengok.
Asal dia stop dekat bulan 4.
Stop dekat bulan 4. Dia punya ni investment tak bulan 4 ni 30th April kan? Full month of April lah. Full month of April masuk. Okay. Kita tengok soalan lain pula. Soalan May 2012. Okay. Discuss suitable accounting treatment for each of the independent statement below and state also the relevant amount. If necessary, assume the financial year end for all situation is 31st March. You have to assume 31st March. And the financial statement will be authorized for issue for yang ni untuk benda lain sebenarnya ni. Okay. Tapi yang pentingnya yang ni lah, 31st March 2000. Issue tu untuk event after balance sheet date, issue date dia, on issue on 1st June. So with regard to revenue, we have question A, part A tu. Zara Sendian Berhad sent goods with a worth of 4,000 to a buyer on 15th April. Maknanya dia jual kat sini, dia bagi tahu kat sini. Okay. 4,000 15th April 2011. The buyer was given 30 days to return. So what is this? Sale and return kan? Sale and return. So maknanya it says that return goods if it is not satisfied with the goods. So how much, when should you recognize this? After 30 days. How much you recognize? 4,000. Okay, kalau you tengok kat sini, revenue recognition principle, revenue amount would be 4,000. Revenue to be recognized is after the expiration of 30 days. Boleh juga, actually exact date after 30 days lah. Okay. Here another question on revenue recognition. Okay, revenue recognition. Vanilla Chocolate Collection, a distributor of Tudung Ibu Rini, sent 5,000 units. So here Ibu Rini Vanilla Chocolate ni, dia ada hantar 5,000 units to an agent in Taman Syamilin. The product is priced at 40 each, and the agent received commission 5% for each of the products. So as at 31st March 2012, the agent managed to sell 80%. Okay, 80%. So when should you recognize the revenue? When the goods has been sold to the customer, kan? The goods has been sold to the customer. How much you should recognize? 40 ringgit darab 5,000 times 80%, kan? So soalan ni dia tak tanya. Dia hanya kalau untuk vanilla chocolate, dia akan recognize revenue tu sebanyak 5,000 times 40 times 80%, kan? Agent tu pula dia akan recognize revenue dia. Tadi revenue untuk vanilla chocolate, kan? Revenue untuk agent tu pula you kena calculate lah. Revenue untuk agent 5%, kan? 5% times 5,000 times 40 ringgit, kan? Okay. So vanilla chocolate ni, so the total amount is 160. Okay, vanilla chocolate. Agent tadi 4,000 units ni, yang 80% ni kan, 4,000 unit times 5%, 5 over times 40 lah, times 40, which is 8,000. Okay. Revenue recognition principle, revenue is to be recognized when the goods are sold to the third party. Okay, bila dah jual lah.
So kalau saya beli macam kita 5% tu, darab terus dengan 160, lepas tu tolak dengan 160 boleh?
160 untuk apa ni? Untuk agent?
Untuk agent.
Untuk agent ni maknanya you ambil 160
darab dengan 5%, dapat amount yang berapa agent dia dapat, lepas tu tolak dengan 160. dapat total sale dia kan?
Tak, sekali nak calculate apa ni?
Kan dah calculate agent tu punya kan?
Agent punya revenue lah.
Nak calculate vanilla chocolate punya total amount dia.
Total amount dia. Total amount untuk vanilla coklat ni. You nak ambil yang 160 ni.
Dah 5% dapat agent tu punya kan? Commission. Daripada harga jual. Lepas tu tolak dengan 160 tu tadi kan? Betul tak?
Tolak dengan 160 ni? Tidak. Sebab ini the whole amount.
Maksud daripada whole amount tu, sikit daripada tu kan commission agent kan?
Commission agent. Commission agent ni untuk revenue untuk vanilla chocolate is 160. Agent ni pula dia recognize revenue dia based on yang ni lah, this amount lah. This amount.
Agent punya macam fees kan? Dia daripada
tak, revenue vanilla chocolate is 160 the whole amount. The net amount tu that is agent to vanilla chocolate is an agent that is under expense or commission expense. Kita akan tolak bawah ni. Kita tak tolak kat sini. Kita tak tolak terus kat sini.
Kiranya kalau revenue tu just
revenue saja. Sebab kita dah ada statement of comprehensive income tu, bahagian statement of comprehensive income tu kan kita ada atas sekali sales revenue kan. Bawah tu baru ada commission expense. Jadi revenue untuk vanilla chocolate ni is 160 sebelum tolak yang ni. Yang ni akan ditolak bawah dalam expense. Expenses. Revenue this amount. You cannot take revenue ni, you cannot take this one minus this one. Tak boleh. This is the gross revenue. Yang you cakap tadi tu net income. Net income kat bawah. Itu bila we calculate statement of comprehensive income, yang akan dapat profit kan kat bawah tu. We are only talking about revenue, not income. Faham tak? Revenue the whole amount. Okay, you have to understand that. Okay, I think we stop here. We're going to continue next class with inventories, event after balance sheet date. We're going to look at several other questions. Okay? Exam yang mana ni? Midterm on 24th. 24th. Pukul 9 tak silap saya. Pukul 9. Masuk tajuk ini saya inform lah. Saya inform dalam WhatsApp And then your test, your quiz esok saya akan inform juga bila kat mana your quiz.
Sudah dia buat hari ni?
Okay, so we end our class here.